In this video, I'm walking you through how to do hook-lying knee pillow squeezes. For hook-lying knee pillow squeezes, you're definitely going to need a yoga block or something similar. You want something that's going to keep your knees about hips width distance apart, and you want something that's going to offer you a little bit of resistance as you squeeze your knees into it. The other thing that's an alternative, so you can use these, you can try them, you can drop them if they don't work for you, is two rolled up towels. So for basically any hook lying exercise that we do, you can have a towel under your lower back and under your neck to support the curvature of your spine and to also try and create more pelvic balance. For some people, the towels will make the exercises feel much more effective, their body's going to feel more aligned, and they're going to feel like they can wake up the muscles that we want to wake up more easily. And for other people, the towels might make them feel a little bit stiff in their lower back or their neck. So just try both variations with or without towels and just see which suits you the most as an individual. Be your own boss. Okay, so we are going to get ourselves into the hook lying position, and because I've spoken about the towels, I'm going to do this with the towels set up. So if you have the towels and you're going to try this version out, just make sure they're not too excessively big. So you're probably thinking about sort of 3-inch circumference. You don't want the towel to be absolutely enormous because then you're going to be really kind of puffed up through your lower back and through your chest. And the towel is going just above your pelvis to try and get the pelvis tilting slightly forwards up off the floor, and we call that an anterior pelvic tilt or pelvic extension. So we're creating this little arch in the lower back. What we're going to do is pop the block in between our knees, but before we do that, and if you have another yoga block, you can actually do, you can do this with 2 blocks. Before we get ourselves set up, we're going to put the yoga block lengthways in between our feet whilst we're lying in that hook lying position to give us an indicator of where our feet should be. So whilst the block is in between my feet like this, with my big toe joints sort of touching that edge, my toes, my ankles, my knees and my hips are all in alignment. When we go just to put the block in between our knees, if you're not careful, your feet might fall out to the side like this, or you might just be doing something kind of strange with your feet. We're really making sure that the middle of the toes are in alignment with the hip, and a way of ensuring that can be to have a block in between your feet throughout the whole exercise, or at least just to get yourself set up at the beginning. So I think I'm fairly good at this stage at doing that, but for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to put the block in between the length of my feet. It's giving me an indicator of what parallel feet kind of feel like. Without moving my feet, I'm going to lift the block up and pop it in between my knees in that same way around, so the medium way around. The feet are going to be about a foot's distance away from your bum, so you don't want the feet really far away, because then what will happen is your pelvis will tilt forward and your back will be really arched. And you also don't want your feet really close, because then your body's going to want to tuck your pelvis posteriorly. So we're sort of finding this in-between place where the pelvis is gently tilting forwards, but there's not a huge arch in the lower back. We're going to make sure that we've got that alignment of the toes, ankles, knees and hips. Our palms are facing up, our arms are out at 45 degrees. We're relaxing our hands, our arms, our shoulders, our neck, our jaw, our belly. We're basically relaxing everything from here on up. We're gaining control of the breath, so focusing on that in-breath through the nose, out breath through the nose, and we're trying to expand the belly and the diaphragm and the sides of the ribs and the lower back using our breath. So we're trying to get out of our mouth, out of our chest and our neck with our breathing, and into our nose and into our diaphragm. So while we're just kind of settling ourselves up, getting a sense of how our body feels, can we feel discrepancies from side to side in the pelvis or the rib cage or the arms or whatever it might be. Keeping those feet on the ground, what we're going to do now is a few minutes of squeezing the block with our knees, holding and releasing. So we're doing a contraction, we're holding for a second, and then we release. Squeeze, hold, release. Squeeze, hold, release. Squeeze, hold, release. Keep going at that tempo for me whilst I just talk you through things that you're feeling for. So as you do the squeeze, hold, release, firstly, you're not trying to squeeze the block the hardest you can, okay? This is not about trying to crush the block at a kind of 10 out of 10 level of effort. We're trying to squeeze the block at maybe a sort of 3 to 4 to 5 out of 10 level of effort. So it's kind of low level, but we're not being sort of lazy with the movement. So we're not overexerting ourselves with the squeeze. We're just trying to get that rhythm. We're looking to keep this as unhurried and as smooth as possible. So maintain a kind of continuous rhythm to the best of your ability with the squeezes, rather than squeezing like really hard, releasing really suddenly and everything being really, really jerky. So it's not to say that you won't feel things kind of like wobbling and reacting to this, but just try your hardest to keep the movement smooth. Hopefully at this point it kind of goes without saying as to where you should feel this, but you should be feeling this in your inner thighs. You should feel this in the adductors of your hips, kind of located on the inside edge of the knee down into the groin. Notice if you want to tense up your hands, or if your shoulder's doing something weird, or you want to hold your breath or clench your jaw. Just notice, because these might be signs of how your body compensates for a lack of adductor function. The other thing to watch out for here is that you're not gripping your belly and holding your breath, but also that your pelvis is not pushing backwards into the towel. So some people, if they lack this kind of strength through the inner hips and their pelvis can't stay comfortably forward in extension, they're going to try and rock their pelvis backwards to wake up the hip muscles, and we don't want that. So the pelvis is staying completely still. We're maintaining that kind of supported arch in the back that the towel is giving us, and the pelvis is almost tilting forwards a little bit rather than moving backwards as we do the squeeze, hold and release of the block in between our knees. So yeah, we shouldn't be feeling that we're kind of rocking our pelvis forwards and backwards. The pelvis is perfectly still. We're waking up those inner thighs, the adductors. We're keeping the rest of our body and our breathing nice and calm and relaxed. And we're just moving at a rhythm of squeeze, hold, release. Squeeze, hold, release. And that is Hooklying Knee Pillow Squeezes.